Okay, now moving into the management and experience and expression of emotions. If you think about it, emotions are the primary source of human energy. They energize, and the word emotion comes from the Latin verb movere, to move. As always, we try and find some way to take something that's social and mysterious and make it simple and understandable. So we talk about emotions in 5 groups: glad, mad, sad, scared, and love. There's actually a 6th group, but it's a surprise group, and there's not much in it, so I don't think it's worth spending any time thinking about it. How about this? They may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So I've been following this for a long time. In the early 90s, I read a book by Dan Goleman, who called Emotional Intelligence, and he followed this up with a review later in the Harvard Business Review. Psychologists asked senior managers to identify the organization's most outstanding leaders using objective criteria. Emotional intelligence was twice as important as technical skills and IQ for jobs at all levels. And emotional intelligence has played an increasingly important role at the highest levels. Why would this be? As you move up in the organization, your technical abilities become less and less important, and your capacity to deal with people, which is about emotions, becomes ever more important. So you can't afford to not pay attention to this. Let's talk about GLAD group. Do you start meetings with jokes? This is a really good idea. I find that meetings tend to continue with the mood that starts them. And so if you start, and we have a telecon once a week with my team, I always have a good joke for them. Once the humor starts the meeting, it stays that way, and we all have laughing and fun times together. How important is humor when you're dealing with a crisis or a serious problem? It's incredible. Are you allowed to play at work? GLAD is very, very useful, and it's very energizing. How about MAD? Is MAD okay? How about anger at injustice? I'm going to show you some film clips later, and I think you'll be surprised at how powerful anger is to motivate people to take action. It's full of anger, and it's always anger at situations, not at people. It's a huge difference. We have a film clip about the American General George Patton during the Battle of the Bulge with the Germans. And there's a scene in there where he gets very angry about what's going on and orders the troops to do a certain thing. And his aide comes up to him and says, you have to watch the film. But his aide comes up and says, sometimes the men can't tell if you're acting or not. And he says, it's not important for them to know. It's only important for me to know. How about sad? Have you ever thought about the role of sadness in mourning losses and moving through losses? This is why we have funerals, to help us move forward and move on. It's very, very powerful. Loss of a contract. It's good to stop and mourn it. So during the Hubble mirror flaw disaster, the program scientist, Ed Weiler, who worked for me, came to me and said, Charlie, you know, the astronomy community is ripping themselves to shreds. You need to do something. See if you can't help them somehow. And I said, well, I don't know what's going on. He said, well, they're sending angry emails. They're attacking each other. It's vicious. It's brutal. So I realized there was an American Astronomical Society meeting happening in about 2 weeks in Philadelphia. So I called up the head of the society, who's a friend of mine, of course, and he said, sure, Charlie, come on up and talk. And I called the guy running the conference, and he says, well, yeah, we'd love to have you come, but here's our problem. There's no space left. All the slots are taken by researchers, and people would get very upset with me if I took away a researcher's time slot to let you come in and make a talk. So he said, but here's what I'll do. I'll put up posters on I'll put up posters where people can see them, and I'll say, NASA's director of astrophysics is coming up Thursday night. There's no dinner planned for Thursday night, and we'll make it at 6:30. And I don't know how many people will come, so I'll make the room full of I'm making an expandable room, a room that the hotel can make bigger. So the room will be very small, and if only a few people come, then you'll be comfortable. And if more people come, the hotel will just open it up, make it bigger and bigger. So I said, that's fine. So the first time I have to think about this, I'm riding on the train up to Philadelphia. It's about a 3-hour train ride from Washington. And I'm thinking about this, and I said, what's going on here? And I said, what we have here is a loss. And the way to process losses is to mourn them. So I need to take these astronomers into a place of mourning. So I went to the meeting, and I got to the hotel about 6. By 6:15, the room's getting pretty full. By 6:30, the room's getting fuller and fuller. And by 6:30, all 500 or 1,000 people are there. So I walked up to the podium, and I said, this is about losses. We've all had losses. I've had the loss of my credibility as a manager. My team's loss of credibility. My agency's loss of credibility. Even my country's loss of credibility, because this was a big international project, and it was looked forward to by many, many people worldwide. And you've all had losses. You've lost your research grants. You've lost your own reputations, those of you that help with the technical aspects of the telescope. Your students aren't getting their degrees because we don't have the research data for them to write theses on. So it's been horrible for all of us. And what I know is the best way to process a loss is to just stop and feel it. Be still and let yourself feel the sadness about your losses. And I just put my head down and waited, and I heard sobbing in the room. And astronomers, 500 of them, people over the place, are just sitting there crying softly away. I let it go on for what I thought was a very, very long time. But I think probably it was 2 minutes or something. Then I stopped and I said, okay, now you need to go home and continue the mourning process in whatever way works for you and learn to move past this event. So now let me tell you about my commitment and plan to fix the telescope. So the next time I saw Ed Weiler the following Monday, he said, Charlie, I don't know what you did, but everything's back to normal. All the complaining and crying has stopped. And he said, I just let them mourn the loss. And that closes out emotions number 1. Next we'll go to emotions number 2. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.